FDR said there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And that is truer now than ever.
Today on the Public Square Project, we've got Deirdre, Kamber, Todd, one of the most interesting people I have met since I moved to the Lehigh Valley. She's absolutely brilliant. She's fun, and she is a candidate for House 183?
Yep, Pennsylvania House of
District.
Representatives, District 183.
Yeah. And, that is the smallest interesting thing about her. So she's going to talk to us today about fear.
Well, thank you, Dave. I really appreciate, with a build-up like that, I hope I live up to expectations. No question that I will. And which is a perfect example of the kind of things that we often say that shows supposedly that we are humble, but really speak to our own sense of security. And our own sense of security is all about fear. The ego is the other side of insecurity. So when we say things like, oh, I humbly ask, or, would you please, could you possibly? Oftentimes, this is not based on necessity. It's actually based on our fear of rejection. And that dictates probably 90% of our interactions.
So when was there a moment in your own life where fear made you either walk away from something or maybe not do something that you wanted to do?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And I need to think back a ways because I've really lived with a mantra of trying everything, or not allowing myself to say no because it was a fear. Maybe that's the right way to say it. I would refuse to say no if the only reason I said no was due to my own fear holding me back. So thinking back to one of the biggest times in my life where I really confronted fear on a bunch of different levels. When I graduated from college, I then applied to law school. I knew that's the direction I was going to go in. Wasn't quite sure exactly what I was going to end up doing. Probably labor, because labor, employment, and business and healthcare were always passions, civil rights as well. So I really started and ended in the same place where I started in terms of the things that I covered. But when I graduated from college, I straight off, you apply to law school, you plan for your LSATs, all these standardized tests. And then I decided that I wanted to go to graduate school in Ireland as something really interesting to do because I'd never spent a lot of time in Europe. And I thought, wow, if I can get a degree and I'm doing something good, not just, blowing a lot of money to do whatever. I got school loans and it's a lot cheaper there, actually, way cheaper, their education. But I was able to get my school loans the same way that we would in this country. And I decided, well, I would apply to go to school in Ireland and get basically a business/law degree there, a master's. And then come back, and then I would go to law school. So I thought, well, that sounds really cool, really fun. So, okay, so sounds all good. So I send off my paperwork and do all this stuff. And they said, if you get extra points if you can do it in Irish, which is Gaelic. And I'm like, yeah, not that. That's not happening. So I send everything off, and everything seems great. And I'm excited by the prospect. And I realized, well, if it doesn't work out, because it probably won't, I've applied to law school. Well, the first hiccup came when my grandfather, he was a veteran, a well-respected lawyer, really just amazing, amazing man. Taught me so much about what it meant not only to be a lawyer, but to be a person. Really ethical,
Yeah.
kind guy. And, he was a vet. He had contributed to so many organizations. He was a Freemason. He was very impressive. And he said to me, "Why would you want to leave the United States?" He said, "I don't want you to go."
Uh,
Ugh, of anybody in the world who could convince me not to go by just saying, "Don't do it." It was a struggle. It was a struggle. And of course, there is fear involved when you decide you're going to go move somewhere else. And it doesn't matter if you're moving down the
right,
street.
right,
You
right.
you move anywhere, you move to another state, it's gonna be all different. So I'm already starting to think about what this will actually mean. I have a plan. I'm not just wasting time. Um, I love you, but I have to risk your disapproval and say I want to go. So that was hurdle number 1. Hurdle number 2 was a little bit scarier. My deadlines for accepting law school were getting close time-wise, very
Uh-huh.
close. And I still had no response from these graduate
Oh, wow.
programs. Right. So you have one thing, but you might have
Right.
nothing else. And do I want to waste a year? I could just go straight to law school and do my thing. So I called Ireland and asked them what I should do. I asked the head of the program, I said, "This is my problem." He said, "Well, we don't meet for another month. So
Oh, wow.
you're going to have to decide whether you are going to law school or the possibility of coming." And by the way, there are only 5 graduate schools in all of Ireland, and they only accept maximum 30 kids apiece. So
Right. And probably a limit on people who are from other places as well.
huge limit on people from
Yeah.
other places. So I
You're
had
brave.
one option. He said, "By the time your law school deadlines come, we will still not have a decision." I said, "Okay."
Wow.
He said, "But I can tell you that the fact you've applied here and the things that you've told us about in your application make me want you in this program."
Ah.
He said,
And did he have control over that? Was he a vote?
"Oh, he was the head of the program,
Oh, okay.
but
Okay.
it was subject to a board determination."
Right.
So he
And you
said,
never know how that's going to go.
"You never know." But I thought, "My goodness, I am so glad that I put extra information and really talked about myself and tried to give a really full idea of who I am, because at least he knows. And if he liked me or hated me, at least he knows
Right.
how he's telling me this is the only thing that might get me into this program, basically, because it's highly competitive." So no, I had to reject all my law school. I had to tell them I could not accept. I asked if could I postpone it? Could I do this? Could I do
Right.
that?
Right.
They said, "Nope, you are off the table."
So you can reapply
Correct.
later.
Not if you have a reason. So this is what they're telling me. But I had to make the decision to call and notify each of the law schools I'd been accepted to and tell them I was revoking my application
Jeez.
because I had a possibility of being accepted to a graduate program abroad. And they were on
Well,
board.
sounds good to me.
Thank goodness I was accepted, because that would have been very
Yeah.
stressful. But I had to deal with
Well,
the possibility that I
yeah.
wouldn't be.
And then you would have just joined Peace Corps for a year or something.
Heck,
You would have done something interesting.
I would have done something, but, when we go into one of the things I've learned about fear is when we make what we consider an ironclad plan that A will be followed by B and C and D, and this is what it is, that is, and you hit any hiccup at all in the
Right.
order of things or in the way things are accomplished or not accomplished, that will
Right.
put you into a spiral. You have to stay loose. You have to stay flexible. And so luckily I did. One thing that I've really learned over the years is that you can have the best laid plans, as the line goes, but you have to stay flexible and you have to realize you are not in control. You're not in control of anybody else but
Right.
yourself. So you have
Right.
to be flexible on your plans. And it
Which is a good thing to learn at an early age. It's a good thing. So when did you realize that listening to fear as a signal was a valuable thing?
that's a great question.
More than something to just get through.
Right.
We keep talking about learning from experiences, and it seems to me that you're learning early on that fear that would probably knock somebody off of the idea of going to Limerick. Other people would have just said, well, this isn't going to work. I'm going with the sure thing. Right. It sounds like you looked that fear in the face and said, okay, there's some hard things to do around this. I'm going to do it anyway. And if it doesn't work out, something else will.
That's absolutely right, and the funniest thing is the scariest thing about all of this, because the third thing came along that was scarier than the first 2. The third thing that happened is I had packed up I got accepted, really excited. My grandparents came with me, my dear grandfather and grandmother came with me to JFK, and I had all my bags. And I arrived at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I realized here I am in the middle of Ireland. I don't even know where to go. I didn't know where it was because that's not where you fly into. There was no one to meet me. I'm just there alone, and I'm lugging all of these bags. I hire a taxi to drive me like 2 hours, and
Right.
I get there. It's not like it's a dormitory where it's easy to identify. I
Right.
thought, "What the bleep have I done with myself? This was a disaster." And I was scared. I was truly scared because I think what really it boiled down to is I felt truly alone. And when we're alone
Right. Right.
in frightening circumstances, or just it wasn't frightening, I didn't feel physically threatened, but I was alone. I knew nobody. I This is before cell phones. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning, nobody is stirring.
So what did you do? Sit on a rock and wait?
Probably did, actually. I probably did for a couple minutes wondering what I had gotten myself into, and then I decided that there had to be some kind of office somewhere because I figured, people have to be arriving from somewhere, um,
Right.
so I just started opening doors to anything that looked remotely official. Was connected to the university and hoped that somebody would show up and tell me where I need
Oh,
to go.
that's great. What a great story that is.
Thanks.
So you found it. They identified you. They pointed you in a direction. You got your stuff in your room.
Yep.
You were probably hungry, had enough Biscoffs on the plane.
And it turned into one of the best experiences of my life. I spent 10
Yeah.
days just backpacking, by myself. I mean, the fear of so many things were conquered through that experience. That was just a gateway to all new experiences that I probably
Yeah.
would have been very nervous about. But then I found myself in an environment where, you know what? If you don't do it, you're never gonna do it. And so,
Right.
grabbed the bull by the horns, and when I came back and had to reapply to all my law schools, one law school actually offered me a partial scholarship because I had a master's degree from Ireland.
Ah,
So the very
see
school
that?
that I was gonna go to in New York actually offered me a scholarship because of my experience.
So it works out.
Meant to
It
be.
always works out. Yeah, I don't recognize a lot of fear, and maybe I should notice it more, but I'm not afraid of much.
Fear is important, and this goes to the question that you asked me earlier. Fear is critical just the same way that pain is critical. When we feel pain in our bodies, that's a signal
Right,
to our brain that something is wrong
right,
and something needs to be addressed one way or another. Fear
right,
is the same way. Fear is a trigger that happens because something is happening with us. And so it is important to address something important is happening here. It it may be
right.
serious, it might not be serious, but something is happening. And so we should always be self-aware enough to notice it when it occurs.
You're hoping to be in public life now, and you've worked at the intersection of law and leadership and um, public service. How is fear different in those spaces, and does it show up differently for than people necessarily expect?
Hmm, two very different questions. Uh,
Yeah.
I I would say that in terms of being in the public sphere, I've been in the public sphere for years. I feel completely
Okay.
ready to take over as representative for District 183. I have the legal background. I have the investigatory background. I have the mediation background. I've served as an
Oh, you
arbitrator.
you have all the skills.
Yeah.
You definitely you
So
you're I
go for
think
it.
they said this about Carol Abando Durstein,
Yes.
that she's the Swiss Army knife of capability. You're the same. You know, you guys are very similar in that you've had broad backgrounds in many realms, and I love putting smart people in jobs where they can actually make a difference. So good luck.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's you need to make a difference. And I know that I can make a difference. I have no fear about the job. I have no fear about my abilities. I have no fear that I can make a huge difference in District 183 and that will be felt in a way that we have not felt in the last 10 years under the prior, soon to be prior leadership.
Thinking about community,
Mhm.
it is there a fear you think that is fracturing our communities today? And is there
Oh, well,
something we can do to
it,
change that?
we really can. And there certainly is. There's no
Right.
shame in somebody who voted the first time thinking maybe this will be better. No problem.
It used to be if you had a Republican on talking about something for 5 minutes, you had to have their counterpart,
Right.
Democrat, come on and speak. And I think we've lost a lot in losing that
Mhm.
because people aren't hearing anything about what the other side is thinking. And it's really easy to villainize anybody on the other side.
That's right.
Oh, that neighbor is that.
Right.
Well, the truth is, to your point, if you go over and talk to that guy who might be a rabid Republican, but if you're talking about his tomatoes, and he's a genuinely nice guy, and that makes a difference. As you said, you had this event in Slatington at the Slatington Farmers Market, and you met some people who were Republicans who are people you probably want to associate with in the future.
Absolutely.
There's power in that. The tagline of this whole public square project is "There's strength in neighbors,"
Hmm.
right? No, I'm just advocating for people to get back out and talk to each other, because I'm in a neighborhood where probably 60-70% are Republicans,
Mhm.
and I'm friendly with all of them, right? And they're good people. That people here are helping each other all the time. I really want to see people get back to a world where you can talk to the people online at a checkout, and have a conversation and not hate them because they have a MAGA hat on.
Well, I think that that's critical, and I think that you make another really good point, which is, and this is my motto in running, which is for the people, not the parties. This is not
Right. That's
about
good.
how you registered. This is about what can we do to make District 183 the very best it can be. Period, end of story. How do we make things better for the
Yeah.
people? How do we look at affordability and access? How do we look at glossing up our main streets so that there's more of a tax space rather than going
Right.
after people's pockets? But if we look at it as an issue of the people, I mean, and this is just going back to exactly what you were saying, Dave, is that why can't we have a conversation? And why can't we have a conversation about politics that is respectful? This is not Republican necessarily. This is not Democrat. I was doing a political event, so people were able to come up to me and I knew and they knew that this was going to be a political discussion. And
Right.
several people came up, and I've had wonderful conversations with Republicans. I mean, I say it like it's a group. It's not. That's what I'm saying, is that we have a broad scope of people, both Republican and Democrat. So to put them into just one basket as if they all think the same way, they don't. Just like
Right.
Democrats don't. We're just people. At the end of the day, we have to remember we're actually, everything else aside, we are human beings who should be able to talk to each other, should be able to lean on each other, just like the people in your
Right.
community, and should
Right.
be able to reach across the aisle and say, you know what? Whether I agree with you on that other issue, if you're interested in supporting this healthcare bill that I want to support also, can we shake hands and do it?
Hmm.
And
Right.
that is how things are gonna get done. So if we think that we can just exclude one group or another, that is not gonna happen. It's gonna be inefficient, and you are putting your party
Right.
over the people. And unfortunately, that's what I see happening right now where I live. This is the time to stop it. This is the time to make
Yeah.
people important, not the parties.
I think from that standpoint of making the people important, taking old towns like Slatington and restoring their grandeur and maybe building a plan around tourism.
Mhm.
We have, if you look at what we've got around here, I came from the Finger Lakes. It's beautiful there everywhere. It's the same here.
Mhm.
It's exactly the same here. People don't realize what they're living in and what the value is. We could be marketing ecotourism to this region and have bed and breakfasts and restaurants on Main Street in Slatington in these gorgeous old buildings that have been converted largely to cash cows, right? And they're letting these beautiful old buildings run down. So,
Having spoken to several council members for multiple towns, so including Slatington, including Bath, including Walnutport, and others. The council, they are trying to do these beautification opportunities. They are trying
right,
to help the main streets grow, but they're not receiving the legislative support that they require.
right,
And literally, one person told me a story that was very disturbing where all they needed was basically a sign off from the House representative to say they needed a letter and then they needed an additional sign off of support.
right,
And they were refused the grant, the beautification grant, because they did not get the sign off. And when they spoke to the representative, he said, "What letter? I don't remember this." Now, this is the story I'm hearing, of course. So,
uh-huh,
don't,
right,
I wasn't there. But this is what I'm being told. Well, it's really sad when the community is trying. I mean, this is
right,
even worse in my opinion, because they
right,
are trying and they're saying, listen, all we need, state
right,
rep, is for you to put the effort into it just to support us, to say you support us. And then it doesn't
right.
happen. I mean, that's really tragic. And when you look at towns such as Easton, the downtowns, Bethlehem, even Allentown is really
Mhm.
gaining some momentum. Jim Thorpe, we have all these wonderful
That's
cities and
a
towns,
great success story.
great success.
Uh,
I know that one council member who couldn't receive the support for getting through the paperwork for National Registry as historic homes. And he and his wife individually took on the task of getting, I believe, 8 properties on the National Registry. And that is
wow.
a lot of paperwork. But this should
Yeah.
have been something that a legislator would jump on and say, "We will help you and guide you through all of
Yeah.
this." It's so important. And instead, it fell to, luckily, a very motivated and caring couple to get
Right.
through it. But it is not for the
Yeah.
faint of heart. So,
No,
things have to
I agree.
happen. They just have to happen. And there's no reason,
I
not a good reason. I see the potential in the farmland and the open green spaces and
right.
the opportunities we have to make things better, make things more affordable, make things accessible for
Yes.
the entirety of the district. And so,
Right.
I mean, what am I doing? I'm throwing down the gauntlet because I want the job and I can do
And
it.
you
We have the
yeah.
wineries, we have the canal, we have the trails, we have the covered bridges, we have the
Yes.
history. There are so many things that are sitting right there at our fingertips to jump on. We have all of these things right here. And it's just a
And we have
matter
to
of
do
putting
that.
it together and getting it done.
Exactly.
So, and then let me mention one other way, which really is, and I see this upsets me. I will genuinely say this upsets me. And both Republicans and Democrats do it, but it is ridiculous and speaks to fear on such a deep level. When people say, I would never vote, vote Republican all the way or vote Democrat all the way. I don't have a problem with voting along general party lines. If you subscribe to the Republican view of things or the Democratic general view of things, that happens. We all identify somewhere or independent or libertarian, etc. What troubles me, and this is part of the machinery that is really creating a damaging divide, is that people are not considering the issues. The moment I hear that somebody is voting for people that they know nothing about, they've made no effort to find out about them, and
Right.
they're cutting themselves off from educating themselves about both sides,
Right.
that is such deep-seated fear, and
Right.
that is based completely out of fear that you might be wrong if you actually listen to the other side, and I have no respect for that.
So you're advocating that people watch or read, see what's going on the other side,
Absolutely. Of
right?
course.
To participate, to know what's actually happening there. But, a lot of people that causes a tremendous amount of anxiety. I understand that. With a lot of the AI things that are out there, you have to ask. And that fear of AI is a big deal, right? Um, so you have to ask yourself when you see something, whether it's on TV or in your feed on whatever social network you subscribe to, is it real?
Yep.
Is it true? Two questions.
Which is
Is it
that.
real? Is it true?
Yeah.
My wife was showing me a video of a horse at Buckingham Palace bending down and nuzzling a boy in a wheelchair. And I said,
And
that's AI.
yeah,
And she said, "No, look at it. It's
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 so
the
real.
horse." And when Sora was still a thing, I just said into it, give me a black beauty like horse bending down and licking the top of the head of a golden retriever. And in 7 seconds, I had a perfectly rendered video
Right.
that I said, "You heard the words I said, right?" Here's your video.
Yes. And it's hard for people
It's
to wrap their brains around, and I understand
it's
that.
that easy.
Yeah.
It's that easy, and you can be misled.
And it
Yeah.
has to be
Well, there's not a lot of vetting going on.
oh, no. But there never really was. I mean, sensationalist journalism has been a thing as long as there have been
Yes, but it
papers to
wasn't
write
the
on.
primary thing. It wasn't all of it was that.
Well,
If you go back and you look at debate programs in the 70s and 80s,
mhm.
people were actually talking to each other and had different points of view. And sometimes they'd be yelling at each other, but it wasn't made up.
Well, that
It was a different perspective.
but that's the interesting thing too, which is I've been following the debates, obviously, for our local candidates in the Lehigh Valley,
Right.
for Lehigh and Northampton County. I've been to many debates. I have yet to see a Republican appear at any of
Right.
the debates. That's a problem. If you are, again, so afraid for your job that you will not come and debate, that is a problem. If you can't debate another candidate, whether it's before the primary or not, that doesn't really matter.
Right.
How are you doing your job? You have to be able to debate.
If they don't know what everybody's thinking, they're just going to keep working the agenda that they want to
Right, but if
roll
they
out.
know they're being invited to a debate and they're not showing up, then how do you expect as a voter, how do you expect them to show up for you?
Right.
They're not going.
Exactly. Exactly.
And this goes right back to fear because they're more interested in keeping the job with the paycheck and the government benefits than they are in showing up and proving that they are still, in many cases, the right person for the job.
So let's bring this back to normal everyday people trying to live their beautiful lives, right? I know there are lots of things that have happened in the past year that have made people's lives harder. But what I'd like to do is give folks some sort of strategy for dealing with their fears.
Yeah.
And because fear limits what people can and will do.
Yeah.
And I want to see a more engaged electorate. I want to see just more engaged communities. I want people to get together, and I'm going to be running some events maybe later in the summer, in the fall, just to get people out to talk to each other
Love that.
as part of the Public Square project. You know, DJ, food trucks, maybe a band, because the more you can identify your friends and neighbors as interesting and smart and doing cool things, you might identify with the fact that you can do cool things too without fear.
What can a person do to reduce fear in their lives? There are a bunch of cool things you can do. And I promise none of these are really terrible. So, number one, I would say is watch the movie. And this is easy, right? Watching a movie is really easy. The movie called Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks. It's an 80s movie and Rip Torn. And it is a fabulous, fabulous movie, which the basic premise is that once you pass on, you go up to Judgment City where you are put on trial, in a sense, for the amount of fear you've experienced in your life and how it's held you back. Not having the fear, but how it's held you back from making good decisions. And then it's Albert Brooks, who's a great comedian, very talented guy. So it's funny, really, really, really good movie. But it will make you think about impact of the fears that you've allowed into your brain that have kept you from accomplishing things that maybe you really wanted to accomplish. So number one is watching the movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks. Everybody should do that. Number two, realize you're a human being and you're going to mess things up. We all do it. And it's okay Don't be so afraid of messing up that you don't take action. You're better off taking action based on the information that you have at any point, at any given time. I might screw up, but how bad is it? Can I live with screwing up? But if I do nothing, that's a choice too.
Right.
And how will I feel if that's the move I've made? And maybe that is also point 3 as well. When we choose not to act, we are making an action. You choose not to vote, you are making a vote for nobody, and that is a choice. And that is that's a loss for everybody. Absolutely. So take
Right.
the opportunity to act. You might not get it perfect, but at least take action. So that's my point. Uh, and realize that not taking action is also taking action. Getting a little bit more into what we can do to conquer fear is really identifying when fear is holding us back. It's okay to be afraid of stuff. Everybody, I'll bet you, even you, Dave, you feel fear on some level. The question is, do you let it stop you? That's the important question. It's not whether you feel afraid. I mean, I can tell you, I don't think I ever walk into a courtroom and not feel a little twinge of, oh, please don't let me screw this up. And it's true as a lawyer. It's true as a forensic examiner. It's true. Nobody likes to screw up. You want to do
It's true as an interviewer.
it
I mean, you just don't want it to go bad.
right. As an
Right.
interviewee, it's probably even more important. It's not the fear itself. The only thing we have
Right.
to fear is fear itself, FDR. It's okay to feel it. Sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. But don't let that be the only thing that stops you from something that would otherwise be good for you or good for the community or good for the public. Or don't let fear be the sole reason that you don't take action. So I think that's my number 4. And just to give it a nice round sort of number, my number 5 action for conquering fear is, especially when we look at the electorate, we have to realize that nobody's perfect. I am very much a human being. If I were AI or a machine, I'm sure I would get every one of Dave's questions perfectly answered.
Mm-mm.
I'm a human.
AI isn't there yet.
Correct.
Just to say.
No, you're absolutely right. But my point is really that we're all human beings. I'm sure
Right.
that there is something that everybody has said taken out of context that would harm them. I'm sure that politicians and everybody else has made a bad decision at some point. Everybody's
Yep.
done something probably dumb, foolish, bad at some point in their lives. We all live long lives. So
Right.
at any rate, my point is that we can't just rely on a party. We can't say, okay, that keeps me safe. If you do anything but look at the candidates and look at the issues and judge based on who aligns with your perspective, if you do anything short of that, what you are doing is trying to pass the blame for making a bad decision.
Right.
Because I voted with my party and this person just turned out to be a disaster, but I voted with my party. Well, you chose a disaster, but did you do
Right.
your due diligence to make sure that this was the right choice for the job?
Right.
The right choice for the job is the person who's going to help you. It's about the people, not the parties.
Well, thank you for spending so much time here today. This was really fun. It's funny. I last time I looked at the clock, it was 35 minutes, and I was thinking we were going to be wrapping up in like 10 minutes. And it's now an hour and 25 minutes. So I have some editing to do.
I think so. I think so. But it's been
You
an
are really
absolute
fun.
blast.